Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the latest Railbookers webinar. I can see we've got people signing in as I speak, so what we'll probably do is we'll just hold fire for round about another minute or so, just to allow those of you who are just tuning in time to get settled and comfortable, get the audio working and so on. If you were in the middle of finishing off a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, you've got time to do that. And we'll start again in round about 1 minute's time. So once again, for the benefit of anyone just tuning in, welcome. As we've got people joining us all the time, we'll just pause for another minute or so and we'll start in round about 1 minute's time. So look forward to speaking to you all then. Good afternoon once again, and welcome to those of you who've just joined us. Welcome to our latest Railbookers webinar. Fantastic to have so many of you here with us this Tuesday afternoon. So today's theme is luxury rail experiences with Railbookers, and we'll be looking at some fantastic luxury rail holidays. The format of the webinar today, what we'll do is we'll start off with a very brief introduction, really for the benefit of anybody who's perhaps new to Railbookers and what we do. We'll then just take a brief detour to answer a question that is really popular at the moment, one that we're getting asked all of the time, which is how rail operators over in Europe are maintaining a safe travel environment right now. And then we'll start the main part of the webinar, and hopefully we'll have time for a question or two at the end as well. So my name is Matt. You can see me on the screen, but let's look at far more interesting things and start the main part of the webinar now. So just to begin with, we do have a promotion running at the moment entitled Pick Your Perk. And what that allows you to do is to upgrade your rail holiday on us. If you're traveling for 3 to 6 nights, you can have credit for £300 per couple. 7 to 9 nights, that's £400 per couple. And it's £500 per couple for 10 nights or more. And what that allows you to do is use that credit essentially to upgrade or extend part of your holiday. And on the screen here, you can see some ideas of how you could do that. It could be upgrading your train travel or your hotel stay. It could be upgrading the room in the hotel that you're staying in, or could be simply extending the stay or adding some extra activities to one of the destinations or one or more of the destinations that you're traveling in. If you'd like to see some ideas on how you can do that or find out more information, all you need to do is head to railbookers.co.uk and our deals and special offers section, and you can find out more information there. Or alternatively, if you prefer, you can always give us a call, of course, as well, whichever you prefer to do. So as promised, a brief introduction, again, for the benefit of anyone who's new to Railbookers. And what we'd like to do really is explain to you why travellers love Railbookers and travelling on train holidays with us. And the answer to that is there's a number of different reasons, really. First of all, there's the rail expert knowledge. As we like to say, we speak rail. We know everything that's entailed, everything that you need to have to create the perfect rail holiday, from the best routes, the best combinations, the best way of traveling from one destination to another. There's also a large number of different types of rail holiday that we feature. Obviously, today we're focusing on luxury rail holidays, but we also have everything from city breaks, extensions to river cruises. You can create a tailor-made rail itinerary, lots and lots of different options to create the perfect holiday for you. All of those holidays too, you can book or travel from today. Admittedly, not too likely right now. Perhaps from the 17th of May onwards is when things start to open up and we can travel in the UK and to a few other places, up until 2023. So if you do have that bucket list trip or that special occasion coming up, next year, for example, you can book those dates, secure the space to make sure that you get everything confirmed for that special trip. And whatever the occasion, whatever the destination, any date, any length of time, if the train goes there, then so do we. You can also, if you'd like to download any of our digital brochures, you can do that via our website as well. We have our main Railbookers brochure that has a selection of our most popular holidays. And something that might be of interest as you've tuned into today's webinar is our luxury rail journeys brochure that will feature some of the holidays we'll look at today, as well as some other ideas as well. So lots of great ideas for luxury rail journeys. Closer to home, we also have a brochure for UK and Ireland independent rail holidays, and we have lots of ideas on cruise extensions too. So if you've got a river cruise booked for next year, for example, and you were thinking about extending that, lots of great bookends that you could add before or after a river cruise, just to extend that and maybe visit a few more places. So lots of great ideas there. Why book now? Well, we offer maximum flexibility to all customers who book new reservations up to and including the 30th of June. And what that means is you've got the freedom to change your dates, the duration of your holiday, or even the destination if you need to, without incurring any change or cancellation fees to do so. And that's for all new bookings that are made up to and including the 30th of June. You also benefit from 24-hour support from our global team, not just here in London, but also our colleagues in Australia, Canada, and East and West Coast USA. One of the ways that we aim to remove the confusion out of traveling by train is by doing all the hard work for you. And one of the ways that we do that is by working directly with all of the main rail operators in Europe, North America, and beyond. And you can see here a selection of our colleagues from Eurostar, where so many of our trips begin, of course, to Italy, Germany, across the pond with Canada, Amtrak, of course, and many others as well. And what that allows us to do is two things. One, it means that we always have access to the best available prices for you because we work directly with each operator, as you can see, but also that's how we're able to offer all of these holidays for 2 years in advance, meaning that if you do have that special trip, looking to look forward to, you can get that confirmed without being subject to any price increases. As far as the rail is concerned, you'll always pay the current year's pricing. So you're not going to be caught out by any price increases that might happen 2 years down the line. Right, that's the introduction out of the way. Now time just to answer that question that I mentioned. Keeps coming up at the moment, and it's pretty understandable why, really. Obviously, none of us can travel anywhere right at the moment, sadly, but people are keen to know what's happening in mainland Europe. How are rail operators maintaining a safe travel environment over there? And the answer to that one really is they're doing a number of different things, most of which are not too dissimilar from what's happening here in the UK. So firstly, requiring facial coverings in stations and on trains for all passengers and staff. Secondly, in many cases, they're stopping the sale of food and drink on board trains. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't bring something to drink on board with you, bring a packed lunch, a picnic, whatever it might be, you can. It just means that you might not be able to purchase food and drink on board right now. Already existing seat configurations and seat allocations, they're being changed to allow for social distancing wherever possible. And for the same reason, where it's possible to carry out contactless ticket control, that's being done as well. And already existing cleaning and sanitation measures, they've been increased for obvious reasons. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what's happening over in mainland Europe. As I say, it's not too dissimilar from what's happening here in a lot of cases. Anyway, let's move on and look at the reason that you're all here, which is to look at some great luxury rail journeys. And we'll start off close to home with a journey in the UK on board the Belmont Royal Scotsman. This is our Highland journey. Here you start and indeed finish with an overnight stay in the Scottish capital of Edinburgh. And then from there, the next day, you join the Royal Scotsman, which travels on a really scenic journey up into the Scottish Highlands, taking in some beautiful landscapes, beautiful scenery. And you also have a variety of tours and excursions included in this trip as well. So, for example, you have a private tour of a Culloden battlefield. You also get to go clay pigeon shooting at the Rothiemurchus estate. And of course, when in Rome, it wouldn't be a trip to the Scottish Highlands perhaps without visiting one of the famous distilleries up there as well. So lots of activities included. And actually, when the Royal Scotsman is travelling around, it actually comes to a stationary halt in a siding overnight. So when you're sleeping on the train's actually stationary for all of this particular journey. And this is the Scottish capital where we will begin and end this particular holiday. And so much history, so much to see, so much to discover in this particular destination. For anyone who's not been to Edinburgh before, it is highly, highly recommended as a destination. I really like the contrast between the old town, some of which dates from medieval times, to the Georgian new town. Not really that new anymore, I suppose, but it's a really nice contrast, and really you can just feel like you've got history kind of pouring from every building as you're walking around Edinburgh, and lots of great places to visit. You can visit the Scottish Crown Jewels, the castle, and so much to see, so much to do. It's well worth a visit if you've not been there before, and indeed well worth a visit if you have been there before as well. One of these places you can always go back to. And Edinburgh Waverley is where you would board the famous Royal Scotsman, and this gentleman, or somebody very like him, or dressed like him anyway, will be waiting to give you the traditional welcome with the bagpipes and serenade you with those as you board the train and head off into the Scottish Highlands. In terms of what life is like on board, well, one aspect that we should definitely focus on is onboard dining. And you can see here it's an absolutely beautiful setting on board the train. You've got the mahogany panelled dining cars, very atmospheric, nice large windows to enjoy the scenery from as well. And you get great service, great attention to detail. It's not a large party on board the train at any one time, so you would only be part of a small group. So you really do get the level of service, the attention to detail that you would expect on a trip like this one. As for the food itself, there's a focus on Scottish produce. As you can see here in this example, we've got what looks to be some very nice salmon, I think, there, but it really does have a Scottish theme to it. And there's a selection of fine wines, liqueurs, and of course, well, whiskies, again, when in Rome, to accompany the food as well. So great food and great service on this particular journey. As for the cabins, well, they've all got a number of things in common. First of all cabins on board the Royal Scotsman are fully en suite, and each one features plush beds, like you can see here, fitted with soft Scottish wools and tartan. So they've all got this tartan theme, and again, you can see the mahogany panelled cabins. So it's all got the same levels of decor throughout the train. There are a number of cabins which are available for a double use. You've got a double cabin as you can see here. And there are also cabins for single use as well, slightly smaller for one passenger. And if you prefer twin beds, then there are also a number of twin cabins, which you can see here as well. Again, as I mentioned before, they're all fully en suite. They all have a wardrobe, a writing desk, as you can see here, and all have lower berth accommodation as well. So again, something that's important to know about this particular train. Very, very comfortable accommodation indeed. And here we have what is perhaps the social hub of this particular train. This is the lounge car, and this is where you can relax, enjoy a coffee or something slightly stronger if you prefer, get to know your fellow passengers perhaps, or just settle back, relax, and enjoy that famous Highland scenery as you're traveling around between the different destinations. So really atmospheric, extremely comfortable experience, and beautiful scenery pretty much on our doorstep. You know, we often forget when we talk about all the beautiful places you can visit and wonderful scenic rail journeys that there are around the world, that we have some of the nicest scenery in our own country up in Scotland. So a beautiful journey and lots to explore and enjoy on our doorstep. Moving slightly further afield next, and we'll head over to Switzerland with our Grand Glacier Express Excellence Class holiday. And this holiday can begin either with a train journey to Zurich, which would be Eurostar to Paris, and then connecting high-speed TGV Lyria train over to Zurich, or you can fly in and out of Zurich from your local airport if you prefer. After a one-night stay in Zurich, we head down to ZERMATT for a two-night stay. ZERMATT, of course, home to the iconic Matterhorn mountain. As part of your two-night stay there, you'd also get to ride on the GORNERGRAT cog railway, and we'll take a closer look at that in just a moment or two. Then you travel through the Alps across Switzerland on the famous Glacier Express, one of the most scenic rail journeys in the world. And this is even better than a regular journey on board, because you will be traveling in excellence class, something that's relatively new, and we'll take a closer look at that and get to see exactly what makes it so special in just a moment. You would finish up with 2 nights to relax in the alpine resort town of St. Moritz, and then from there you can head back to Zurich to fly or train home, depending on your preference. So this is the Glacier Express train for anyone who's not familiar with the train itself. In fact, the word express is a little bit of a misnomer, really. The whole concept, the whole USP of this particular journey is that it's nothing to do with speed at all. In fact, it takes 7.5 hours to cover 180 miles. It's all about the landscapes, the beautiful scenery that you pass through, ranging from mountains to lakes, valleys, gorges. You really do get the whole gambit as far as Swiss scenery is concerned. And if you look at the train carriages, you'll see these wonderful panoramic windows that rise up from seat level all the way up almost to the ceiling. So everybody on board the train gets an absolutely perfect view and gets to enjoy great scenery wherever they're located. Everyone gets a wonderful view. But there is now something very, very special indeed, and that is excellence class, which you can see here. And excellence class just goes that notch up above and beyond. So what makes it different? Well, first of all, it's very exclusive. There's only one departure in each direction, west or east, per day. It's only available on the full length of the train route from St. Moritz to Zermatt. And there's only one carriage available for excellence class passengers, with a maximum of 20 passengers. As you can see here, every seat is on a table for two. Every seat is a window seat. So really you get the best of the scenery. And you can see from inside here how those windows go all the way right up to the top. So wherever you're sat, you get an absolutely perfect view. As well as having that exclusive carriage, limited passengers and so on. It's also a gastronomic experience too. So included in the cost of your journey in excellence class is a 5-course meal, again focusing on local specialities, so this time Swiss rather than Scottish, of course, and each course is served with accompanying wines as well to go with it. So a real great culinary gastronomic experience, and you're traveling through the mountains and wonderful picture postcards, Swiss scenery at the same time. You also get the use of the Glacier bar as well. You have your own concierge who will be looking after you during the journey, and you get an aperitif at the start. You're very well fed and watered, as I think you've probably realised by now, and it really is a great experience for all of the senses, really, as you're enjoying this wonderful scenery in a beautiful setting, and enjoying some fantastic food too. It's relatively new, excellence class. Really, they only started in 2019, and for obvious but sad reasons, not really used too much in 2020. So there's not that many people, really, relatively speaking, who've been able to experience this so far. It's pretty new, and it's an exciting new way of experiencing what is an absolutely fantastic journey. And it's not all about the train journey, as wonderful as that is. Of course, there are great destinations to visit as well, and Zermatt is definitely one of them. It's a really nice part of Switzerland to visit, very picture postcard Swiss style. In fact, the town of Zermatt is actually car free, which is really interesting. When you arrive, if you give your hotel a call, they'll come and pick you up in almost like a little golf buggy normally, and take you to the hotel if you'd like that service. But there are no cars there at all, and you can very quickly get out of the town and get to experience wonderful scenery like this, that wonderful alpine air, those wide open spaces that I know lots of us are looking forward to and have been looking forward to after recent events. And of course, there's the Matterhorn mountain, the symbol of Zermatt as well, which you can see here. Now, we did mention at the start of the webinar the Pick Your Perk promotion that we have running at the moment. And one way that you could use that is by upgrading your hotel experience. And here is an example of how you could do that in Zermatt. This is the Riffelalp Resort, which is actually part of the way on the ascent up to the GORNERGRAT. It's a real oasis of tranquility. And this room here is actually the Matterhorn Suite, where you can see the Matterhorn itself, can't you? Which gives you an idea why it might have that name, looking right out of the window there at the back. But really fantastic setting, how amazingly tranquil, wonderful Swiss landscapes wherever you look. And whilst in Zermatt, you also get to try the GORNERGRAT railway as well. This is the highest open-air railway in Europe. It was originally created back in the 19th century, and at that time, it was the world's first fully electric cog railway. A couple of things to note is that when you're ascending from Zermatt up to the summit of the GORNERGRAT, firstly, you get if you're lucky, you'll get to see some mountain ibex running along the mountainside, not too far from the train, most of the year round. And also you get wonderful views of the Matterhorn throughout the trip, not just at the summit, but throughout the entire trip, you'll have some great views. And of course, when you reach the summit, you'll get some wonderful views like this one. You'll be able to see the Matterhorn itself, of course, but not just that. You've also got a 360-degree panorama of 29 different mountain peaks, all of which are over 4,000 meters high. So you really do get an absolutely stunning panorama, as you can see here. And something that's nice to do is perhaps you can do it in either direction, or both, indeed, if you'd like to. But on the way down, you can always, there's a couple of stops in between Zermatt and GORNERGRAT, and one is actually at Riffelalp, where you can get off. There's some nice walks that you can do, hikes if you're feeling more energetic, or gentle strolls if you'd rather something. little more gentle, which go by some mountain streams and rivers and just beautiful scenery once again. So absolutely wonderful, and you can take as long as you like up at the top within reason. And again, you can stop off as many times on the way up and on the way down as you'd like to. So you can make a full day of it, or you can spend more time exploring ZERMATT once you're done, whichever you prefer. Moving on to something slightly different now, but again, it's relatively new. So you may have seen this already on our website, or you may not. It might be new to you, perhaps. This is our Golden Eagle Danube Express Central European Classics from Vienna itinerary. And in fact, we've got a number of different variations on this theme, all of which will be slightly different, have slightly different inclusions. But the main meat in this particular itinerary is the travel on board the Golden Eagle Danube Express. So you'd start in this particular holiday, you'd start off in Vienna with a 2-night stay. All of the hotel stays here, 5-star throughout, and you travel first class on board the Railjet, very comfortable services, over to Prague in the Czech Republic. And this is where you'd start the main part of the trip. You'd board the Golden Eagle Danube Express from Prague, and you would travel from the Czech Republic through into Poland first of all. You visit the salt mines and also have a sobering moment to reflect at Auschwitz with a tour there as well. And then head down into Slovakia. You get to ride on the Tatra Scenic Railway and also spend time with a tour of the ancient city of Košice. You would then head down into Hungary. You would have a city tour and private lake cruise at Lake Balaton before spending 2 nights in Budapest with some tours there to fully explore the Hungarian capital. So lots and lots included. And this would be your home for the majority of this particular trip. This is the Golden Eagle Danube Express, your private train heading through some of that wonderful scenery in Central Europe. There are a couple of different types of accommodation available to you. The first of all is the deluxe cabins. All of the cabins, I should mention, are fully en suite. So by day, you've got comfortable seating area with soft coordinated fabrics. You can see you've got 2 comfortable armchairs there as well. And then what will happen, this is just another view, so you can see the room through to the bathroom, and you've got your bathroom products there as well, is that in the evening, whilst you're enjoying dinner, one of the stewards on board will make the deluxe cabin ready for the evening, and you will have 2 lower berth beds in the evening. Alternatively, you could look at the upgrading to the superior deluxe cabins, and these are slightly larger. Again, you've got a comfortable daytime seating area, as you can see here, with a full length sofa, and this next image actually just shows you that it's slightly larger, these particular cabins here. And in the evening, these will actually be made up into a UK king size bed. So again, that little bit larger rather, and you get a full double bed as well, which is quite unusual for a lot of overnight journeys, even on private trains. So really maximum comfort available here. This is the bar lounge car, which is the social hub of the train. So when you're traveling from A to B, you can spend time in your cabin, or you can also relax here, perhaps get to know your fellow passengers, enjoy a drink or a coffee, whatever it might be. Listen to the pianist who'll be playing from time to time, and also take in some of that wonderful Central European scenery that you'll be passing through as well. There's also the onboard dining room. So when you join the train in the Czech Republic, you'll have a welcome dinner in Prague, and then all your meals will be included, breakfast, lunch and dinner from there onwards until you arrive in Budapest. and the vast majority of them you'll enjoy on board the train itself. Sometimes you might enjoy lunch while you're out exploring a particular destination, for example, but most of the trains will all be on board. Most of the meals will all be on board, rather, and they'll always have a local flavour of whatever destination you're passing through at that particular time. Again, you'll have attentive staff looking after your every need, fantastic service, just to make the trip as special as it absolutely can be. And there's obviously a number of different excursions included. This is one of them, the trip out to Lake Balaton. Lake Balaton is the largest lake in Central Europe, and here you'll get to enjoy a private cruise, which is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you see how blue that lake is, and how, what a vast expanse it is too. It's a really popular holiday destination in this part of the world, so it's fantastic to be able to explore that and have your own private cruise to be able to enjoy it to the maximum. Another really nice excursion that you will have, which goes a little bit off the beaten track in a sense, is heading over to the High Tatra Mountains. And here you'll actually leave the Danube Express and you'll join the scenic Tatra narrow gauge railway. A really interesting journey. It climbs 1,457 feet and takes you on a scenic journey through the mountains, as you can see here. So some amazing scenery, and one that's perhaps not known about quite so much as in comparison to some of the other journeys that we've looked at today. So really, really interesting, and there's lots of great inclusions on this holiday, and also you get to spend time on your own private luxury train. So it really is something that's a little bit special. There's only a handful of departures for this trip. There's some later this year and also some next year. So if this takes your fancy, really you need to look early, because the space on these departures, they will go relatively quickly. And next up, it's an old classic. Well, we couldn't really not look at the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express, could we, when we're talking about luxury rail experiences? And we have a number of great holidays that feature this most iconic of train journeys, some of which will be travelling from the UK over to Venice, and others will be heading back to the UK as well. There's a number of different options that we have, but we selected this one today because we think it's a pretty special trip, and it makes for a really interesting scenic journey home after traveling over to Venice in style. So the journey begins in London, traveling on the British Pullman down to the Kent coast, and then in Calais you would pick up the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express and head through France, then wake up the next morning to some stunning scenery as you head through Switzerland, and then into Austria, and then finally you cross into Italy and head to Venice. And arriving in Venice by train is probably one of the nicest travel experiences that you can have, because it just isn't like any other destination. The train tracks actually cross across the lagoon and you can see the water either side. And obviously you wouldn't just be arriving on any old train, you'd be arriving on board the Orient Express as well. So what a memorable trip that is. And for anyone who's traveled to Venice by train before at all, you probably remember as well, once you depart the station, here you'd actually have a shared transfer waiting to take you to your hotel, but you step out of the station at Santa Lucia and you've got the start of the Grand Canal right in front of you. So you just couldn't be anywhere else on the planet. It's a really special destination. We've got 3 nights in Venice, and then we wanted something equally memorable to head home. So you head home via Switzerland, and you travel on 2 of the most scenic rail routes in Europe. First of all, you would head up to Milan and then into Switzerland via the Bernina Express route. And the whole route of this particular train is UNESCO World Heritage listed. So that gives you some idea of how special it is. You'd also have those wonderful panoramic windows, a bit like we saw on the Glacier Express, to take advantage of all the stunning scenery. You spend 2 nights in St. Moritz, and then you would travel again, crossing the Alps on the famous Glacier Express that we were just looking at over to ZERMATT. So if you wanted to, you could really make it even more special and upgrade to excellence class if you fancied it. You'd have 2 nights in ZERMATT. Again, we include the day trip to the GORNERGRAT cargo railway there, and then you would finish off by, after your 2-night stay, heading over to Zurich, and you can either take the train to Paris and then London, or you can fly back from Zurich, whichever you prefer. So what is life like on board the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express? What's the experience like? Well, it really is like traveling back in time, I think is a nice way of describing it. Really, the whole experience harkens back to the golden age of travel. Here you can see the bar car, which very much in the evening becomes the social hub of the train. This is where people will gather, particularly pre and post dinner, to relax, enjoy the surroundings, enjoy the piano music that we'll be playing, and just soak in the ambience of the overall trip. You'll see that people will really dress up for the occasion. It's for dinner, it's minimum jacket and tie for gentlemen, equivalent dress for ladies, and you'll see lots of people though will choose for black tie evening dress and really will just try and make it as special and as memorable as they possibly can. And this is another social area on board the train, the lounge car, so you can spend time here during the day and the evening. You don't have to remain in your cabin throughout. You can enjoy the lounge car and the common facilities on board. Again, wonderful Art Deco style throughout, and just really great. The period setting just makes it so special, and it's lovely just to relax, spend time here, and watch the scenery and indeed the world go by. As for your cabin, this is the what it would look like. This is the view that you would have when you open the door in Calais and you board the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express. Here we have it in daytime mode, so you have comfortable seating, large windows to enjoy the scenery. And then whilst you're having your dinner, there's a choice of 2 sittings, and you'd have a very extensive 4-course meal in the evening. You'd certainly be very well fed and watered on this particular trip. Lots of great food available, all cooked, freshly cooked on board the train. Whilst you're having dinner, your steward will be a very busy beaver because he'll be getting to work and transforming the cabin so it's ready for the evening. And here we have it set up in nighttime mode. So this is then what you would expect in the evening, ready once you've had a very enjoyable dinner on board the train. Now, if you do fancy really, traveling in maximum comfort, maximum luxury, again, it is possible to upgrade further on board the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express. If you would like to, you can upgrade to a grand suite. Now, again, these are actually a relatively new addition, only in the last couple of years, and there are only 3 of these on board. So again, very exclusive, very, very limited. You can travel like royalty, I think we can say, pretty much, with the double bed on board, a separate seating area. These actually have their own private ensuite bathroom as well. And just look at the furnishings there. It's absolutely exquisite, isn't it? So very, very exclusive, very, very limited. Get in early is really the message if you would like to upgrade to one of these, because there are not that many of them. And another way that you could pick your perk is to look at upgrading your hotel stay in Venice. This is one of our partners that we work with over there, the METROPOLE Hotel, which is just a few steps from St. Mark's Square and overlooking the lagoon. In fact, if you look out of the window on the screen, you can see views of the lagoon from the hotel, which just shows you it's in a prime location. If you've not been to Venice before, this is where you want to be, close to St. Mark's, Rialto, everything that, all the main sites, places of interest are going to be a short walk away from the hotel. And in fact, if you've been to Venice before even, then it's fantastic to be staying in this particular location with all of the main places of interest on the doorstep. And it's a great hotel, really high levels of service, absolutely fantastic location. And as we mentioned, we included some great Swiss journeys on the return journey, just to have something a little bit different, but again, have something memorable, great scenery. Always difficult when you've traveled out to Venice by the Orient Express. How do you make it special coming back? Well, again, one way you could do that is you could look even to upgrade the travel on the Glacier Express and travel back in excellence class. Again, enjoy that 5-course meal, exclusive carriage, and take in that wonderful picture postcard scenery. And I mentioned there are several different itineraries, different holidays that we have with different combinations of destinations, in addition to the travel on the Orient Express. And this is another one. Travel on the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express over to Venice, and then a visit to Lake Garda and Lake Como as well. So we start off with the Orient Express journey, the same one over to Venice, and then after 2 nights in Venice, you take the train over to Lake Garda and spend 2 nights in Sirmione, and then on to Lake Como for a 2-night stay there. So plenty of time to relax and enjoy beautiful lakeside settings. Then you travel on the short journey from Como to Milan, have 1 night there, and then you have a choice. You can either fly home, or there is a direct train from Milan to Paris the next day, and then from Paris you could take a connecting Eurostar back to London. So the choice is yours. And after visiting Venice, again, another absolutely beautiful setting. Sirmione is a really stunning promontory jutting out onto Lake Garda, which is the largest of the Italian lakes. And Sirmione is known for its crystal clear water. Again, just look at that, absolutely beautiful. It's also known for that medieval castle that you can see there, which is called Rocca Scaligera, which really kind of dominates that part of the town overlooking the lake. Another must visit I would highly recommend is there is an archaeological site there which contains the remains of a Roman villa, and it's got a small museum there as well. Really interesting. So I would highly recommend paying that a visit too. But exploring the lake and the surroundings, absolutely beautiful setting. And in fact, you can see, just as another example, this is our featured hotel in Sirmione. This is the Olive Thermae and Natural Spa. And again, you can see what a great location. You can see right by the lake. It's got an outdoor swimming pool as well. But just a stunning setting, absolutely beautiful. And it's just a lovely part of the world. Now, when you're traveling in Italy, on many of the train journeys, and indeed a couple of the journeys you would do on this particular holiday, you can upgrade to executive class, which is kind of one above first class. And it almost looks like this is the ultimate COVID experience. This is taking social distancing on board to the next level. But of course, don't worry, this has got nothing to do with COVID. This executive class seating has predated COVID by a considerable time. But this is kind of the most comfortable way to travel on board the most comfortable of the high-speed Italian Frecciarossa trains. There's only 1 carriage with executive class seating. There are only 8 seats this time in the carriage. You can see you can pretty much swing the proverbial cat, and you wouldn't strike the seat in front of you. Wonderfully comfortable armchairs. You can stretch out. You've got a footrest as well. And you'll also be served a meal and complimentary drinks as part of the fare in executive class as well. And you have a steward who looks after everything you need, a cabin attendant, while you head on to your next destination. You can also upgrade to this, for example, on many of our other Italian holidays if you're traveling between, let's say, Florence and Rome, Venice to Florence, and many other journeys as well, Rome down to Naples, and so on. And last but very much not least, you arrive in Lake Como, of course. Again, an absolutely stunning and beautiful setting. You'll be staying in the old town of Como. And one thing I definitely recommend doing, well, actually, there's a number of things I recommend doing in Como, but one of them, and indeed this goes for any of the Italian lakes, is I think the best way to kind of fully experience them and really take in the different scenery is to head out on the water. There are frequent boats and ferries that will crisscross the lake and connect all the various towns along the lake. And it just means that if you travel across the lake by boat, you just get to see different viewpoints. You get to really understand how big they actually are and the shape, the geography, and you just see different views, different areas that you wouldn't see otherwise from just remaining in one place. It's also quite a nice thing to do, to perhaps head across the lake and have lunch in one of the other towns, and have perhaps a stroll afterwards to work off lunch maybe, and just take it all in. It's a really nice idea, nice thing to do. Another really nice thing to do whilst in Como is there's a really short funicular railway that you can take from the old town up to the hillside village of Brenate, which nestles above Como, and you get some absolutely wonderful views from there, looking down over the old town, over the lake. You've got a spectacular backdrop with the mountains, and it just makes for a beautiful setting. You can relax, enjoy a coffee, or some restaurants up there as well. You can have some lunch, or a glass of wine, whatever it might be, and just take in what is an absolutely stunning setting, beautiful views, and just another way of experiencing this wonderful destination. So I'd highly recommend doing that as well. And there we have it. If you'd like to find more luxury rail journeys, then you can find them at our home, railbookers.co.uk. You can search by destination, but if you'd like to go straight to some of these luxury journeys, if you click on the second tab that you can see here that's entitled Holiday Types, one of those will be luxury rail journeys, and you can go from there. You can even go as far as searching for the Orient Express, and you can find all the different holidays that include the Orient Express, find out what different combinations you can do there. Same goes for the Danube Express, the Royal Scotsman, and so on. You can, go as far as searching for that one particular train and going from there. Lots of great ways of finding the perfect holiday for you. And a reminder, you've got the brochures available for download too, so you'll have one of our luxury rail journeys brochures, for example, as well as the others that we mentioned at the start of the webinar. Brilliant. Well, that brings us almost to the end of the webinar this afternoon. Time is marching on, as it always does. But before we bring things to a close, we'll see if we can answer perhaps one or two of the questions that you've been sending through in the course of the webinar. If I don't get around to yours, please don't panic. One of the team will reach out to you tomorrow just to make sure we've answered all of those questions. So every single one will get answered one way or another. Okay, let's see if we can pick one or two now. And we will start off with a question from Marilyn, I think this is. Hello there, Marilyn. And Marilyn's question is, if you're traveling on one of these journeys, how much luggage can you take with you? Really good question. So if there's no flights involved, the restrictions on luggage are really not as draconian as they might otherwise be if there's an airline involved. If you are starting the journey with Eurostar travel, for example, the limit on luggage is 2 items of luggage per person, plus 1 item of hand luggage. And the other good news for any of these trips is that nobody is going to weigh your luggage on the way back. So if you have stocked up on presents, souvenirs, or anything like that, then you don't need to worry about it being heavier when it comes back than it was when it went out, because nobody is going to care. If you're traveling, for example, on the Orient Express over to Venice, as we've seen here today, that's slightly different. And what actually happens there is your luggage actually travels, it does travel on the train, but it travels separately to you. So what you do is you take an overnight bag and perhaps a suit or dress carrier for the evening, and then your luggage travels in a separate part of the train and you get reunited with it when you arrive in Venice. So again, it's different to an airline, but again, you don't have to be worrying about all the weight restrictions and everything else, as I mentioned. So each journey will be slightly different, but that gives you an idea. If there's a luxury train involved, like the Orient Express or the Danube Express, they'll have their own conditions as to how much you can bring with you, which will vary slightly on each occasion, but broadly similar. And as you can see, if you're traveling over by, for example, Eurostar first, 2 items per person plus 1 item of hand luggage. Okay, fantastic. I've got a few, quite a few people asking lots of questions about the excellence class, and how that works. So I think for those, probably it's easier if one of my colleagues will just reach out tomorrow and explain the various permutations with those in terms of how they work. I've got a couple of people asking about the food on board the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express as well, and again, just confirming they are all gourmet meals and they're all freshly cooked, freshly prepared on board the train. So nothing has changed as far as that's concerned. I can see there's a question just popped up again from Gary asking about perhaps upgrading or changing the trip that you've booked from plane to train. Again, that's one that the team will reach out to you tomorrow, Gary, on that one, just to see if that's something we can assist you with. Hopefully we can, if that's something you'd like to do. Brilliant. And there's plenty more still coming through as well. So we're kind of probably just about out of time, unfortunately, which is a shame because again, it's a slightly longer webinar than usual this week, as we had so much to fit in. And for everyone who has submitted a question, thank you very much for doing so. You will get somebody in touch with you tomorrow to answer your question if I didn't pick yours this afternoon, so we will answer every single one. Thank you to everybody for attending the webinar today. Great to have so many of you here with us. I hope you found it useful, entertaining, food for thought perhaps, and it's always exciting to be able to perhaps have ideas and be able to think and start discussions and considerations of where you might travel to next. We all need something to look forward to after all at the end of the day, don't we? I think particularly after the year that we've all had, I think we all deserve the chance to have something to look forward to. Anyway, have a great Tuesday evening. Look after yourselves. Stay safe, as always at the current time. Look after yourselves, and hopefully we'll have the pleasure of your company on another webinar in the not too distant future. Thanks very much. Have a great Tuesday evening.